was. It was all of a sudden. So something commissioned today by the CIA might be a little more cynical. If it were me, I would create a giant shifty-looking bronze mole with a file folder in his mouth. They probably would show me the door. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd look at your concept and you'd go into a deep dark room in the bottom and never come out.
Yeah, go to our waiting room. Yeah, stay there for about 5 years. Jim Sandberg created something more serious, and like I said, the public got good bang for its buck with this one, and it's kept a lot of cryptography nerds busy, and a lot of people are still racking their brains over it, and I mean a lot of people, some very smart people. And of course, journalists have managed to get lots of good news stories out of it over the years. So it's been a win all the way around, I think. And it's still unsolved, or at least part of it is.
So I know what Kryptos looks like. We all in this room, but I think a lot of people probably don't. So
yeah, if you're not near a browser and you can't bring up a picture of it. Yeah, if you're driving.
There's lots of people who drive and listen.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're driving, just close your eyes and try to bring this...
Don't listen to Joe. Please open your eyes immediately.
Listen to Joe, but don't close your eyes.
Okay. All right, yeah. If there's no rest area nearby, keep your eyes open. So let me describe it here. If you're standing on... Most of the pictures that are taken from one side of it, and that's the side where you can look at the writing and it's correct. It's a bunch of
Read from left to right.
Yeah, it's a bunch of... Yeah, and so when you're looking at it from that side, there is a large petrified log standing upright on its end, on one end, on the right side.
It's what, 8-10 feet tall?
Something like that. Yeah.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah, nice log. I wouldn't mind having that log. Yeah. And then there's a tall copper plate that sort of scrolls out like a sheet of paper, as if it were like a scroll.
And I want to point out, it's real copper, so it's actually green now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just,
yeah.
So everybody knows.
Yeah. So yeah, don't go to Google and look at the picture and say they lied to me.
Yeah.
No, it is really copper, and it scrolls out so if you're standing on this side, it scrolls away from you, and then it goes in a semicircle back towards you, and then it curves away around the other way, so it scrolls around and away from you again. On the one side, facing towards you, it's just marble, it's just like a marble ground there. And on the other side of it, of the semicircle loop, whatever, there's a little round pool
in the arc of the S shape that the copper makes.
Yeah, in the arc of the copper. Yeah,
the tail in the bottom.
Yeah, end that actually is kind of like the other end of the scroll that it's wrapping around, if you can imagine that. And it was obvious to me the first time I looked at it that the symbolism symbolizes, I think, the division of our world into smoking and non-smoking areas. And really, when you think about it, it makes sense. Because when you're standing on the right side, which is the part that doesn't have the pool in it, you can actually stand inside the sculpture. But if you go on the other side, the smoking side, you can't stand inside it. You have to stand outside, just like smokers do. Yeah,
it's a good theory, Joe.
And the little pool in the center makes a great place to throw your butts. Yeah.
That is not what it's intended for.
Pretty sure it is.
I like it. Yeah, let's get back to our more description. There are letters cut into this copper sheet, about 1,700 or so letters. Yeah. And they're actually, some people have said, stamped out. I don't know if they were cut out with a torch or stamped or what, but they go all the way through. So they're not just stamped.
They were probably, knowing the time that it was made, it was probably done with a water jet or something like that.
Whereas today,
some kind of computer-controlled device to be able to cut them with the precision that they are done.
Yeah, and today it would probably be a laser. But,
Laser,
yeah.
Yeah, you're mispronouncing that word, Joe. Jeez.
I'm sorry.
The Z
is laser.
Laser.
Okay. Of course, you can find drawings of the text part of the sculpture online, and I'll describe that real briefly. It's shaped like a rectangle, which is divided into 4 smaller rectangles. The 2 right rectangles show the English alphabet, that's A through Z, repeated over and over again with the word Kryptos inserted into the text, which is a big hint, because it actually turns out to be one of the keys for the encryption cipher of the first 2 messages in there.
Because this whole thing is one giant cipher. We haven't said that yet.
No.
Yeah.
The whole sculpture is a giant message. Cipher.
Well, yeah, the left half is the message, and the right half is the key.
Okay.
So the 2 rectangles on the left-hand side. The top half or either the upper left-hand rectangle is encoded with what's called a Vigenère cipher, which is named after a French cryptographer called Blaise de Vigenère. He was a 16th century dude, and actually He apparently did not invent this method. It was invented by some guy named, what was his name? Giovan Battista Beloso, who invented it also in the 16th century, and then Vigenère modified it several decades later, and then sooner, centuries after that, it was misattributed to him, but actually he didn't really invent the concept.
So it's kind of like the light bulb?
Yeah, kind of like that, yeah. But we don't care. It's called the Vigenère. Yeah. And here's let me give you a real quick rundown of how it works. And now everybody knows what a Caesar cipher is, right?
No.
You don't know what a Caesar cipher is?
I mean, I do, but not everybody
Caesar shift.
does.
Okay. Yeah, Caesar shift is one where it's the easiest and dumbest cipher out there. One where you basically pick a key. The key might be, let's say your key is 1. If I were to say, and you're going to shift everything over 1, and of course if your key is 3, you shift everything over 3 in the alphabet. But let's say it's 1, so I'm encrypting, say, Devin. So Devin, D-E-V-I-N, becomes E-F-W-J-O.
Okay.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
That's it. Well, it's and
easy.
But those are ridiculously easy to break, and so the Vigenère cipher is in its simplest form, like a Caesar shift, but you pick a key. Let's pick a word like, say, bacon, and that we make that our key, and so we shift the first character by 2 because B is 2, and then the next one is A, so we shift the next one by 1. The next one is C, so we shift the next one after that by 3, which is for C, and on. And then we start it over again, shifting from 2, 1, 3, blah, blah, and then shift over 2, 1, 3. But of course, again, that leaves a big pattern. But that's in its simplest form. That's a Vigenère cipher. Now, what they did here is a little craftier one. This is one where, to do this one, here's what you do. You sit down and write down the whole alphabet, A through Z. And in this one, they use the word cryptos for the first key, for the top key. So write the word cryptos to the left of your alphabet, and then go through your alphabet and take out every letter that's in the word cryptos, so starting with K. So you'll notice that if you go through the alphabet, those letters are missing. And then, so that's it. Cryptos, A through Z, missing those letters. What you do is you're going to repeat this alphabet underneath that as many times as the length of your key. So the first part of the message used the key palimpsest, which is 10 characters, so 10 rows. But what you do is the first row starts at P. So that's how they're all shifted around. So palimpsest, P. So it starts with the P in cryptos and goes all the way through, and at the end, KRY from cryptos is addended to the end of it. The next one is A, so it just starts right at A, and then cryptos. Next one is L, so it starts L through Z, and then it says cryptos, and then A through J.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a question that I think I know the answer to, but I want to make sure. So you said the key to this is cryptos, but
palimpsest is the second key.
Oh, so it's a 2-key cipher.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the part you didn't say, and I was making sure that I wasn't missing. Okay.
Yeah, and so essentially what you do is let's say I want to encrypt. No, we don't want to encrypt Devin. That's too many letters. We'll encrypt Joe. I like that one. So Joe. So the first line in this one, J is N, and then you go to the top line. You pick out your letters, and then go down. So the first one is the first line, J. Second letter, O, is the second line. So I go to O, and that goes down to the second row, which is F. And then, and this is going to be incomprehensible to you people who are just listening, then I go over to the E, and I go down to the third line, and that is Y. So that is how my name is encrypted. And then what I do is when I want to decrypt the message, I come back through, and since this is and I know that since I'm decrypting it, and I'm not a cryptographer, I'm actually the intended recipient, I know the 2 keys. That's the beauty of this system, is that since it's easy to remember 2 words.
Yeah.
And so the guy that gets this message, he doesn't have to carry a code book around him. He can just sit down and write the whole thing out because he knows those keys. And then when he's done deciphering the message, he could just burn his key that he's created.
So for everybody listening, I know that this can be kind of tough to understand. There's a great book out there, and Joe, help me with this.
Was it the Code Book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the actual title of it?
Yeah, it was called the Code Book, and I can't remember who wrote it. Who was it?
We talked about it about 3 years ago when we did the last Cipher episode. the code book is a great book to at least go through. He does a much better job of making this kind of stuff palatable to the layman, and that would be a book I'd recommend to look through.
Yeah, it really is kind of hard to make this totally understandable because it's a very visual thing. I mean, I've got this table right in front of me, and it's very easy for me. You guys would have it too. So.
I have it in front of me, and it's not easy.
I was going to say I have it in front of me, and I do not understand it at all. But the good news is I don't try to decipher messages like this. So.
Yeah. No, but here's the beauty part of it. So now we know that my name as encrypted here is NFY, right? NFY. So I go back and I do my name. I do my name out. I go to the first line, and I go over to the N, and then I go up to that's not the first line. But the first line, the top line is the decryption line. So it'd actually be the second line, but it's the first keyed line. So. And have I confused you yet? You bet I have. But I go over to the N, and then I go up to the top line, and yep, there's a J. Then I go down for the second letter. I go down to the second line down here, and I go to the F, and I go up to the top line. Whoop, it says O. And then I go down to the third line, and I go over to the Y, and go up to the first line, and there it is, an E. And so I know my message says Joe. So that's how you decrypt
I don't know why he bothers to put things in code to us when he writes emails, because I know that if I spend the time to decode it, it just says Joe is awesome over and over and over.
I know that's all.
In different kinds of ciphers.
Yeah. So that's how the first
that's how
cipher.
the first cipher
Sorry, how?
How did somebody decrypt?
Yeah.
How what?
How do we know that?
How do we know that that's what it is? Well, actually, because some people broke the cipher.
The first one?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
And actually, there were two messages, and so two different ciphers. I mean, they were both Vigenère ciphers, but with different keys.
Okay.
And so that whole part of it, and then it gets a little trickier when you get to the second rectangle down the lower left. But the top part of the message is two messages. As I said, the first one says between